Hi everyone. The past few weeks I've been writing my thoughts down about Dad. I really wanted to share my thoughts with my family and friends at his funeral. As a lot of you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and the older I get, the quicker I come to tears. I knew it would be very hard, if not impossible, for me to read this in front of you all. So I'm taking my mother's advice and I taped it. So here I am all by myself in my office. I hope I can get through it. Tribute to Vern Hyde, my dad. When I think of my father, one of the first things that come to mind is what a tough act to follow. All through life, whether it was at school, at church, steel case, basically anywhere he had an influence, people respected and liked him. Very early in my time at Steelcase, like the first day, it was more than apparent how many people really liked my dad. Many years later, I thought about it. And in the 25 years I was there, I had never had anyone say anything bad about him. They all loved him. How can so many people have good things to say about one person? It made me think that I should watch him closer and learn more. Like I said, a tough act to follow. Some things that came to my mind as I was writing this about Dad. Dad was a servant. He was a true servant to others, the ultimate volunteer. His entire life, he volunteered for many different organizations. Many of you may not know that he was an officer on the board of directors for Lincoln Lake Baptist Youth Camp. He served the camp board for many years. He also served his community as volunteer firefighter on the Paris Township Fire Department, now part of Wyoming Fire Department. This must have made a big impression on us kids, as Steve and I both became firefighters as adults. He was a volunteer for the Steelcase Credit Union, now Community West Credit Union, for over 30 years, serving as board president for many of those years. He helped the credit union thrive and grow during his time volunteering many hours. The credit union was very, very important to him. He made lifelong friends during his time there. He was very proud and also humbled by the scholarship named after him. He volunteered for many years at Mapleong, from driving the school or the church bus on Sunday mornings to being an usher, and then the many other projects that the men and families gathered to complete at the church. The Steelcase Retiree Club Care Center was one of his favorite things he was involved in. Having led the organization for years, he loved the fellowship with many other retirees. He also ran golf leagues, pool leagues, shuffleboard leagues, and more. I know I'm leaving some things out, but you get the point. The ultimate volunteer. Dad was a sailor. Dad was very proud to have served his country in World War II on the aircraft carrier USS Independence. He enlisted very young after watching both his older brothers go off to war. Later in life, Mom and Dad enjoyed many ship reunions, traveling all over the country with his shipmates and their families. We were able to join them for the last reunion a few years ago. These reunions were very important to them, and they had many great friends from these trips. Dad was a born leader. He was one of the fairest people I've ever known. He had a knack to find the best way to do things and help everyone to get on the same page to get it done. I know he always did his best to help everyone that he had the privilege to lead. He never used his authority to diminish anyone. I think that's why he was so respected at Steelcase. And he had so many skills. He was a great mechanic, but he was also a great businessman. He was never afraid to get involved and get dirty. He was never one to just sit and watch. In the early days before he went to Steelcase, Dad owned a gas station, the man behind the Texaco Star. He was also one of the founders of V&J Studios, a business he started with his brother Bob. He held many leadership positions at Steelcase, in the safety department, customer service for many years. He was true to his company and always went above and beyond. Dad was a true friend. There are some of you here that were fortunate enough to have called him friend. You know what I mean when I say he was a true friend. He cared about so many people, treasured many friendships. He would drop anything to help a friend. It has really affected him the past few years as he lost many of his great friends later in life. Mom and Dad formed lifelong friends at Mapleong Baptist Church. They've been with the same group in the same Sunday school class for over 50 years. They both hold these people dear to their hearts. Dad was also a ladies' man, and I mean that in the best of ways. All the women here will agree to this. He was the ultimate gentleman. He really knew how to treat a woman and would not stand for anything else while he was around. I think this is why he thrived at the credit union. Back in the day, it was mostly women working there. He loved many women in his life, thankfully none more than he did Mom. On the same line, he was a sharp dresser. He had more suits and ties than any other person I know. I remember when Mom sewed a lot, his ties always matched one of the girls' dresses. He always dressed to the nines. Dad was a family man through and through. How fortunate we were as children. In the early days, there wasn't much money in the picture, but we never went without anything. Being much younger than the rest of my siblings, I don't remember many of the hard times, but hearing stories, they were happy times. We were fortunate to have traveled so much. We would take long vacations for most years. I remember sitting in the far back of the station wagon facing backwards through the entire country on our trip to California in the 70s. We saw a lot of the U.S. during those years. He was very patient to have 6 people in the car for weeks. He made sure we all had a great time. If we wanted to go out of our way to see the biggest ball of twine, we would do it. We did so many cool things. I'm very thankful for that. Camping was a favorite for the Hydes. One of his favorite spots to take us was Camp Swampy. This is also a place where he volunteered his time, cleaning up the beach for the swimming area in the early days and just making the place better for everybody. He was a good father. You always knew where you stood with him. There wasn't much middle ground. You definitely never spoke back to him, but more importantly, you never ever spoke back to Mother. He was a disciplinarian, but only when really needed. I didn't get to see that side of him much. As we all know, I was the good child. Or maybe they were just too tired by the time I came along. I know that he went to every single ball game, choir concert, band concert, play, club, school functions that we all had. He was always there for each of us. Even when we got in trouble, he was always there to help us. Actually, the funny thing was, he usually knew that we were in trouble before we got home. He would have his police and fire scanner going, and we didn't stand a chance hiding a ticket from him. As adults, I know that we all really enjoyed our time with Dad. He was a real joker, as most of you know. He loved spending time with his grandkids. They've always been so special to him. There wasn't ever a family function that he didn't have us all laughing. He always guessed what was in the wrapper. Many of you do not know that Dad was a mama's boy. He cherished his mother and his brothers. He helped his mother with everything. It was a big loss when he said goodbye to each of them. His final goodbye with Aunt Edna just a short time ago. He would do anything for his extended family. Dad was a Christian. He and Mom have always tried to be witnesses to us. There's never been any doubt as to their beliefs. They were willing to share their faith anytime the opportunity came. I'm so thankful to have grown up in a Christian home. Sometimes back then it didn't feel that way, but now it is one of the things I cherish most about my dad. He wasn't one to stop by the bar on the way home from work or go away with his buddies for the weekend. He always just came home to us. He was a constant source of caring, playing, fathering, and love. We never needed to worry about him. He was always there. So when I talk about him being a tough act to follow, you can understand. Rochelle told me to take a deep breath right here, so hold on a minute. Dad was my hero, my mentor, my friend, my golf partner, my boss, my father, and my dad. I will always try to be half the man you were. I want to take a minute to thank our mom for the selfless care she has given Dad the past few years, especially the past few months and weeks. It is truly because of your care that we had him around for so long. On behalf of my mother, my brother, my sisters, all of our families, we want to thank you for being here to honor Dad. He wouldn't want any fuss, but for everything he's given others, he truly deserves to be honored. We love and miss you, but we know we'll see you again. Love, Tommy. Thank you, everybody.